Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Victor. It's strange how a single moment and one decision can unravel everything you thought was stable. For me, that moment came when my wife went to her younger sister's bachelorette party. I know, sound harmless, but what happened during that trip ended up shattering our marriage. And today, I'm going to walk you through how everything played out, right from the very beginning. Sophia and I had been married for 2 years. We weren't newlyweds anymore, but we were still early enough in the journey that we were learning and building together. Our marriage had its ups and downs, like anyone else's. We had shared some really beautiful moments, and I always saw her as someone dependable. We'd reached a place of comfort where trust was the foundation. But even foundations can have cracks, and sometimes those cracks start small. One of the concerns I noticed early, while we were still dating, was Sophia's relationship with alcohol. It was never the quantity. Even a small drink would flip a switch in her. Everything is different once she has alcohol in her system. She saw it too, and we've had more than a few conversations about those nights. There were apologies, promises, and tears. Eventually, she admitted that alcohol didn't suit her, and we agreed it would be best if she stayed away from it entirely. It became something we both silently knew was non-negotiable, especially after we got married. After we got married, things changed. Sophia and I settled into something quieter, more structured. Gone were the wild nights out, the loud parties, and the blurry mornings after. We both agreed it was time to leave that part of our lives behind. We wanted a family, so we made intentional changes because we were actively trying to conceive. So committed to creating the healthiest possible environment for pregnancy. Sophia wanted this just as much as I did. So we stuck to the plan. When Sophia told me during our second year of marriage that she was finally pregnant about a month along, I can't even explain the feeling. It was the kind of news you think you'll remember forever, down to the exact word she used and how her eyes lit up when she told me. But just a few days after breaking the news, her younger sister invited her to her Bachelorette weekend in Miami. Now let me be clear, Sophia's younger sister had always been more on the wild side. Loud, spontaneous, and unapologetic. I had my doubts, naturally. A Bachelorette weekend with a group of girls, many of whom I'd heard stories about but never actually met. I wasn't comfortable with it, and I told Sophia that directly. I told her, "Look, I won't be there to look out for you. I know how these things can get. I know how your sister can be. I just don't feel good about this." I genuinely didn't think it was a good idea, especially now she was newly pregnant. I knew she was vulnerable emotionally and physically, but she reassured me, said it was just girls, just some fun. She promised to tell them she was pregnant and that she wouldn't be drinking. She told me not to worry, that she'd be fine. I believed her. I had no reason to doubt her word, so I helped her pack. I folded her clothes while she decided which shoes to take. I even drove her to the airport and kissed her goodbye, telling her to have fun, but be careful. Then I came back home to a quiet house and tried not to let my thoughts get the better of me. I stayed busy. Anything to keep my hands moving and my mind from drifting into places it didn't need to go. At that time, I truly believed everything would be fine. When Sophia got back 3 days later, I went to pick her up from the airport. She came through the arrival gate looking a little tired, but she was smiling. She walked up to me, kissed me on the cheek, and gave me a quick hug. On the ride home, she was very chatty. She talked about how much fun she had, how it was all just party vibes and girls' night out, and how the music, food, and energy were just what her sister needed to blow off steam before the wedding. She painted the whole trip like it was a harmless getaway. Nothing but laughter, dancing, and sisterhood. And I believed her. Honestly, with the way she presented herself after the trip, I thought, okay, she handled it like she said she would. But in the days that followed, I began to notice a gradual detachment from Sophia, even in the bedroom. I tried to hold her at night, initiate intimacy, even just cuddle, and she'd quietly pull away or say she was tired. Now, at first, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. She was pregnant, and I figured maybe it was morning sickness, mood swings, or just the body adjusting to early pregnancy. Hormones, right? We've all heard how pregnancy can mess with your energy and emotions. So when I asked her, "Is everything okay?" and she answered, "I'm just exhausted," I didn't push further. I took her word for it, because frankly, I didn't want to be that husband who assumes the worst when his wife says she's not feeling her best. About 2 weeks after Sophia got back from the Bachelorette party in Miami. At this point, we were both supposed to be getting ready for her sister's wedding, which was scheduled for the upcoming weekend. One morning, I had just come back from a quick grocery run when my phone buzzed with a message notification. It was from an old friend of mine I trust enough not to ignore. The message read, "I saw the video, it didn't look good. I hope you're handling things well." At first, I stared at the message for a good 30 seconds, completely puzzled. What video? What was he even talking about? Did he send me a message meant for someone? I had no idea. I messaged him back almost immediately. "What video? What do you mean?" He read the message. I could see the read receipt, but then nothing. No reply. That's when I decided to call him directly. When he picked up, I could hear the hesitation in his voice. His tone was apologetic before I even said anything. He started with, "Bro, I didn't know you hadn't seen it. I'm so sorry. I swear I wouldn't have sent that message if I knew." I cut him off and told him to stop stalling. I needed to see whatever he was talking about. He hesitated again, then finally said, "All right, man, I'm sending it now. Just brace yourself." A few seconds later, the video came through. It was a short clip, just under a minute, but it felt like it lasted forever. The footage was shaky and grainy, probably shot on someone's phone. But even with the poor quality, I could immediately recognize Sophia. My wife was in a tight-fitting dress, clearly drunk, her body language completely loose and uninhibited. She was kissing a shirtless man, probably a stripper or a bartender, while a bunch of women cheered her on in the background. Sophia then climbed onto his lap, wrapped her arms around his neck, and started whispering something in his ear. Her mouth was right by his skin. I don't know what she said, and I don't want to. I watched it 3 times, back to back. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed to be sure I wasn't missing something, maybe some angle or detail that might tell me this wasn't what it looked like. But no, it was her, and she was clearly intoxicated. This is the same woman who had looked me in the eyes and promised never to touch alcohol again, especially now that she was pregnant. The same woman who reassured me before that trip, telling me it was just girls, and that she'd be responsible. As I sat there on the couch, I wasn't even thinking about betrayal. My first thought was the baby. The alcohol, the stress, the reckless behavior. None of it made sense for someone who had told me just weeks ago how ready she was to be a mother. I couldn't even wrap my head around it. She came home and acted like nothing happened. All through the day, I didn't speak much as I reflected on everything. Her detachment was starting to make sense now. Later that night, as I did more digging online, I realized the damage wasn't just personal. The video had been posted publicly. One of the women from the party had uploaded it on social media. I don't know if it was a joke or clout chasing or just pure ignorance, but it spread quickly. A well-known manosphere content creator picked it up and made a whole video about it, breaking it down, reacting to it, mocking the behavior, and warning men to avoid women who act like this. He didn't blur faces. That video had been circulating for at least a week before I even knew it existed. That night, I asked Sophia to join me in the living room. She walked in, wiping her hands on a towel, probably expecting something casual. I sat there, elbows on my knees, looking at the floor for a second before I met her eyes. "Is there anything," I asked, "you need to tell me about Miami?" Right away, her face changed, like she was running through possibilities in her head. "What do you mean?" she asked. Her tone was defensive. That was the moment I knew she wasn't going to confess anything unless she had no choice. So I gave her no room to maneuver. I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened the video, and handed it to her. "Watch this," I said. She took it, and I watched her face as the footage played. Her eyes widened and panic set in. "It's not what it looks like," she cried out, handing the phone back. "It was a dare," she said, breathing fast. "I didn't even know who that guy was. I was drunk." I just looked at her, and then I said, "Exactly. You were drunk when you promised me you wouldn't be. You're pregnant. You're married. And now I'm watching you grind on some stranger in front of a room full of people. Do you even hear how messed up that is? I shook my head slowly. The fact that you don't know who he is makes it even worse. Only God knows what else happened off camera. You think this video was the whole story? It's probably just the part someone thought was safe enough to post. She broke down and fell to her knees, sobbing, grabbing my hand, and begging me to believe her. I didn't sleep with him, I swear to God. I swear it was just a kiss, nothing else. I wanted to believe her. But the more we talked, the more her details started shifting. At first, she said she didn't know the guy at all. Later, she slipped and said he was probably the bartender. Then another time, she said one of the girls dared her just to kiss him, but never mentioned the lap dance part. It was like her memory was foggy, or maybe she was trying to scrub parts clean for my sake. Every version of her story felt like a patch job, a cover-up. And even if she was telling the truth, I couldn't feel it. That night, I couldn't bear to sleep beside her. I grabbed a pillow and a blanket and moved to the guest room quietly, without a word. Sophia was in the bedroom crying, and even though I could hear her soft sobs through the wall, I didn't go back. She kept coming to the door, knocking softly, whispering apologies, saying things like, "Please, Victor, it was a mistake, and I didn't mean for it to happen." But none of it brought peace. That night, I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling for hours, asking myself the same painful questions over and over. Was this really the first time something like this happened? Had she done this before, and I just never found out? And the worst part? I couldn't shake off the thought that maybe what I saw in the video was just the tip of the iceberg. I didn't know what happened when the camera stopped rolling. That uncertainty was eating me alive. We never went to her sister's wedding. Neither of us talked about it, but we both knew there was no way we could show up and pretend everything was fine. The very thought of sitting at that event, smiling and mingling with people who might have seen the video already, was just too much. I didn't want to go. And Sophia, well, she didn't argue. I think she knew what kind of storm she'd brought into our lives. In the weeks that followed, we tried therapy. I wasn't hopeful, but I agreed because a part of me still wanted to believe that there was something left to save. Sophia would often cry through the sessions, saying she was ashamed, that she hated herself for breaking something good. I listened, like I was physically present, nodding, responding, but emotionally gone. I didn't feel connected to her anymore. Then, another blow hit us. Sophia miscarried. She lost the baby. When the doctor confirmed it, she broke down completely. I didn't even know how to react. It was heartbreaking, but I think I had already been grieving long before that moment, not just the baby, but the marriage itself. That miscarriage was like the final breath of something that was already dying. After that, I didn't wait long. I filed for divorce. I didn't care about the money, the assets, or what people would say. I just needed to get out. That video haunted me every time I closed my eyes. I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't lie to myself and pretend things would ever go back to the way they were. My heart had shut down, and once that happens, there's no going back. Years have passed since all of this happened, and I still find myself thinking about what could have been. I wonder if things between Sophia and me might have turned out differently if she had just said no to going to that party. What if she had stayed home? Would we have had the baby we were hoping for? Would our marriage still be strong? These questions come up in my mind more often than I'd like to admit. It's hard not to think about all the what-ifs, but at the same time, I know deep down that none of it matters anymore. What's done is done, and I've come to accept that. Sometimes, you just have to let go, even when it's painful. Before I end this, I want to ask you something. If you were in my shoes, how would you have handled this situation? Would you have forgiven or walked away? Would you have tried to fix things, or was ending it the right choice? I really want to hear your thoughts, because your perspective can help someone else going through something similar. Thanks for taking the time to listen. If it meant something to you, if it gave you something to think about, please hit that like button and share it with others. Sometimes, sharing these stories is the only way to help us all feel less alone. Take care.